Welcome back to Buckeye Bar Guys here on the Buckeye Bar Talk Network. I'm Mike.
And I'm John.
We have episode 3 tonight, and it's going to be a jam-packed episode. Just want to get a couple things out of the way first. Please, if you're watching the video on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. You'll get the bell for the notifications. Hit that. Hit all notifications. Remember to like the video, comment on the video, and that really helps us out with the YouTube algorithms to get our show viewed by more people. If you don't have time to watch the video, but you're out and about, you're listening to podcasts on your favorite podcast provider. Right now, we're available on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn, and a couple other ones. We're still waiting to hear back from a few other of the big ones, which when we get those, we will update you guys accordingly. But again, remember to follow the show on those networks and to like us, give us good ratings. All that helps us out. And so, how are you doing tonight, John?
Good, Mike. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Anything big happen lately?
No, nothing too huge. I mean, we did end up going to the zoo last Friday, so that was a lot of fun. We got to get out of the house. You don't get to get out of the house too often anymore with the pandemic going on. So it was nice to go out with the family. Went to the zoo. Of course, it was Jackson's first trip to the zoo, so slept most of the time. I don't know how he really enjoyed it, but he did see coyotes running around that he seemed to like. He was following them, and I think they reminded him of his German Shepherd, so he was having a good time with that. Rained quite a bit on Friday, so I mean, we got to enjoy most of the day, but there was some of it that we were, under shelter because of the rain there, so all in all, a good day.
Yeah, Friday was definitely a monsoon. For me, I took a lot of people's advice. I started watching Yellowstone this weekend. Hadn't watched it yet. Everybody I've been talking to says it's a good show.
So what's that about?
It's about this very powerful family that owns a lot of land out in Montana, really close to Yellowstone, and it's just all the different rivalries that go on between their family, the government, the nearest Native American reservation, and and there's some land developers, and it's really interesting. I heard a lot of people kind of describe it for the older people in the audience. It's kind of the modern day Dallas. I never watched the original Dallas, but I did watch the newer one that was on TNT a few years back. So, I can kind of see it after being a couple episodes in. They're definitely a well-to-do family with a lot of intrigue and, they run the power out in Montana. It makes Montana look a lot different than you
would think Montana would look?
Yeah, but I guess those rancher families are pretty powerful out there, according to them, which I could see. And then I started rewatching The Sopranos. You guys will get to know pretty quick. I'm a pretty big Sopranos junkie. I love the show, so I don't even want to know what number rewatch this is, but I'm through the first couple episodes of the first season. Like I said, love the show.
Well, Katie and I, we also started rewatching the show. Very popular sitcom. I'm not going to go into which one it is because we've watched it many, many, many times, but we enjoy it.
Yeah. I think I could probably guess which one it is, at least get it down to the top 2, but knowing you guys.
I'm sure you could.
All right, so before we get into the news tonight, what we should have been saying today, it's game week, but, Big Ten kind of crapped on our parade.
We should be preparing for Illinois right now.
Yeah, we've actually had 2 different schedules. We could be talking about Bowling Green or Illinois, so...
And they both got ripped up right in front of us.
Yeah. So, kind of sucks when we started talking about... the show has been in the works for years, but we were really looking... Once we started really talking about it this summer, that we were definitely going to start it. It was always our goal to get it up and running before the start of the season, and
I did a scouting report on Illinois.
Yeah, we did our part, Big Ten. What's up with you guys? All right, so let's get to the news tonight.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so we did have our first college football game of the year this past weekend. Central Arkansas beat Austin Peay 24-17. Brian Snead, who used to be a running back with the Buckeyes before he was dismissed from the the university. He does play for Austin Peay. He didn't have a great game. Started off, seemed like he started off fairly well, but he only ended up with like 33 yards. I know you had the game on, John. What did you think?
Well, did you see that block he had though for that quarterback run?
Yeah.
He crushed that guy. So I mean that was pretty cool to watch. You could definitely see why he had interest from top teams with plays like that. He started off good. He looked like he was a good runner. Had some quick shots through the hole, but then it all kind of went away, and he wasn't doing much the rest of the game.
I mean, he looked like he was. He should be playing line compared to some of those guys that.
Yeah, he's definitely a different. At least as far as athlete goes, he's a different physique than the rest of them. However, the game itself wasn't the best, but it was always, it's cool to have football on. I was happy to have football. I was so excited to turn the game on that I'm actually watching football. And then kind of like it wasn't even that long into the game. Probably by the end of the first quarter, I was just starting to get more and more angry that, these two teams are playing and Ohio State isn't. Central Arkansas has the resources to play college football in the fall, but Ohio State doesn't have the resources to play college football.
Yeah, I know. I was totally stoked after that opening touchdown run by Austin Peay.
That was like, what, 75 yards in the first play?
Hell yeah, we got football back. And then it's like...
Well, I joked with Katie. I was like, oh, everyone's afraid to touch him because of the COVID.
Yeah, then
you get angry.
You went through the whole line of emotions as that game went on. I mean, I had it on in the background.
Tears of joy, tears of sorrow, it was all there.
I was, watching it. I enjoyed it, but, I was working on some Buckeye Bar Talk stuff, and so it was good white noise, I guess, to have in the background. At least we got to see football again.
Yeah, I mean, that's a plus, even if it's not Ohio State, which really, really sucks. I'm not trying to downplay that. It is so heartbreaking that Ohio State's not playing, but at least there was some football.
Yeah. All right. Next piece of news. It was a little bit scarier news, but Haskell Garrett, he got shot in the face this weekend trying to break up a fight. He seems like he's going to be fine. Ryan Day said he received excellent care from the Ohio State University's Wexner Medical Center, which. Everything seems like he's going to be good. Like I said, it was a fight between a man and a woman from what eyewitnesses say, what he told the cops. And, he just tried to kind of step in the middle of it, and the dude pulled a gun on him and shot him.
I mean, talk about crazy news to wake up to. That's, I wake up, would have been Sunday morning?
Yeah, I believe it was Sunday morning.
So I wake up Sunday morning, I look at my phone, and that's like my notifications are that Haskell Garrett got shot. And that he was in stable condition. Everyone said he was going to be okay, but I mean, just talk about craziness to wake up to. But I'm glad he's going to be okay. I mean, obviously that's excellent. You want to make sure everyone that comes before football is someone's health. So I'm glad that he's going to be okay. Saw a lot of, I don't want to say negative, but there was a lot of people that were speculating that he was in the wrong before they knew anything. And yeah. I mean, I don't like to see that guy. It's not like he seems to be a common troublemaker for Ohio State. So I have no reason not to believe the young man. So
it kind of always seems like that's a lot of people's first reactions when it comes to athletes, that they were doing something wrong. They were the troublemaker. Yeah. But, I mean, according to everything I read, he was just walking down the street and saw this guy and this girl aggressively arguing with each other, and decided to step in and told the dude that he needed to calm down some.
Yeah, so it sounds like he was trying to do the right thing, and I'm going to believe that until I see differently. So I'm glad he's going to be okay. Here's prayers for a fast or a speedy recovery for him.
Yeah. All right, next piece. The parents had their protest this weekend at Ohio Stadium. From all reports, there was about 30 to 40 parents and roughly 200 fans. So, John, I know we've touched on the parents in the previous episodes. But anything you want to add about this?
Well, I'm glad the fans came out to support. I know 200 doesn't sound like a ton, but it was a good turnout for what it was. It wasn't the longest notice for it, so it definitely was a good turnout. You're glad to see passionate fans going out there and supporting this cause. I don't know about you. I mean, I know just the character of a lot of their sons playing football. You could tell they came from good homes, but I was more than impressed with what a lot of these parents had to say. Like they obviously practiced, but they were they were just very impressive. They had a great message and ultimately you could tell that they want to play football now, which is understandable. I mean, they love watching their sons play football. Their sons love playing football, but they wanted to be a part of the decision. I think that was something that G. Scott Sr., if I'm not wrong, he had said that Kevin Warren, he had the conversation with his son. Why was he not afforded the same opportunity to talk to G. Scott about if he wanted to play and what the safety issues or what health issues could come along with it. So they were all very impressive, but that was it was really cool to watch. I'm glad they were able to get out there and get their message across.
Yeah, kind of going with kind of what we're getting ready to get into with our discussion here in a little bit. I did pull a Scott quote. Like you said, he did say about he wants had the same decision that Warren's family had for their son. But when he was talking about a lot of the speculation, so I did pull this call. I want a decision, and I want the commissioner, the same person that yanked the season away, that yanked the goalposts away. I want that to be the person that comes out and brings it out. I don't want any more speculation. So that's kind of he had a lot of good quotes that day. He was pretty much the star. Amanda Babb, she did a great job. She's the president of the Parents Association.
Randy, of course. Randy's been doing a great job throughout.
Yeah. I've said this before, I've been super impressed with how the parents have responded to this situation. I don't like some of the reporters that have come out and are acting like these are Little League parents. These aren't Little League parents, and I've coached Little League before. I played in Little League. I understand that sentiment. I don't think that this has anything to do with Little League parents.
These are their sons' lives.
Yeah.
And if anybody that's, played football, I played 1 year in high school, so I'm not going to act like that I'm some varsity, guy that played a ton of football growing up. But anyone that's played football, they understand what it's like to be a part of that team. And when you're in your last year and it gets yanked away from you, yeah, that's very emotional. So to ask for, the answers to why they made that rash decision, and some real clarification, not just repeating the same tired lines over and over again, that's not irrational. That's nothing that anyone should be criticizing. They are entitled to that, and that is completely expected, that they would want those answers, and it should be something that the commissioner and the Big Ten president are able to produce and willing to produce.
Yeah.
The fact that they just think that they don't have to is that just makes me very angry for everybody that, where are these people?
And I know we mostly talk about the football. I mean, that's where all the noise is. But I'm sure these aren't the only parents that are upset. I'm sure, the women's soccer team, I'm sure, their parents are upset too, especially for the older kids that, you don't know. And it's one thing to say that, I know that, they're not going to go play professional sports and have a draft come in the springtime, but you don't know what could happen between now. They're in peak conditioning for this. Anything can happen. How would you feel to lose out on your senior season at Ohio State, on the women's soccer team,
right,
and, you end up breaking your leg because you fall later in the fall or something like that. That would be crushing. And, I don't see where you're seeing some other places and, high schools now, like here in the state of Ohio, high schools were given the choice, each individual school district, whether they were going to play or not. And, the governor said, though, as a whole, football could go forward, sports could go forward. And now you're seeing some of the, after some of this new testing information, we've had new tests that have come out between the saliva test that Abbott has, said they're going to release a bunch of new testing machines that can get stuff done within 15 minutes. So, we're seeing all these now. We're seeing some school districts here in Ohio, go back on their original decision and decide they're going to play. So, I don't see where the pride necessarily has to be for the Big Ten. You can come forward and be like, you know what, we made a mistake. It's still not obviously going to be the start where we wanted to start it, but, let's start it this fall.
Right. Why can't they say, okay, these other conferences are still playing. We're going to move forward with a plan to play with them. We can get back to practice now. If it falls through and everyone quits together, then we at least say we tried and we quit. I just don't understand why they can't get over this pride where they can't just admit they were wrong, that something new has come out, and that we can go forward and try to have a season.
Yeah. Well, we'll be getting back to that here shortly.
There's going to be a lot of that I can feel for probably still weeks to come.
Yeah. All right. Last piece of news for tonight. This happened. We talked about it a little bit on last episode. Right
Yeah,
at the
I think
end.
it was last Thursday, right?
Yeah, last episode. And then I released a YouTube video, kind of touched on it a little bit more. And we'll kind of get into more discussion about that here in a second. But 8 Nebraska football players have filed a lawsuit against the Big Ten for them canceling the season. They want that decision overturned, and they want transparency, which a lot of people have asked for. And basically, the Big Ten attorney came out and said there would be irreparable harm if the documents were released, and there's no merit to this lawsuit, which I know we're going to talk about here in a second. But I mean, that was kind of an interesting statement.
Yeah, no merit to the lawsuit, because I think he worded it, he tried to belittle what they were doing, that for 8 student athletes that this would, that they shouldn't have to release this information. So what we later find out is how many presidents vote no?
Yeah, so they came
11?
It was 11-3.
So you're telling me that 8 people, it's not enough. 11 people's decision is 8 people are not enough to hear what 11 people had to say. That doesn't have legs. So they have to tell them what's going on. They owe it to those players.
Yeah. All right. So it's kind of now get into this. What the situation is. The last couple days have been. I kind of made a joke earlier today that I think that the Big Ten could win the daytime Emmy, because. We remember our mom was a big soap opera fan when we were little.
GH, baby.
Yeah. So, I think this could give GH a run for its money.
Yeah, this is... I don't have the words to describe this just soap opera that's going on right now.
So, to kind of touch it off, we had a lot of rumors came in at the end of last week that the Big Ten... Well, first of all, the rumors were the Thanksgiving Day rumors, and then some things started trickling out. Well, maybe it's October, or maybe it's early November, and it just seems like it coincides with a couple things. First of all, there's lawyers involved now. Tom Ars has put in for a bunch of Freedom of Information Act requests through several of the universities, I believe all the public universities, and he's asking for a boatload of stuff. I saw him joking around on Twitter the other day that the information office at Illinois came out and said that he needs to narrow his search down to 25 topics, which is kind of ridiculous to me. And then he's like, he came back and said, well, why don't you guys pick the 25 that make you guys look the most guilty? Or no, he said first, he's like, well, how about I just send the 25 in 4 different times? And they're like, no, you can't do that. And I sent 4 different requests with 25 or 20, whatever it was. And then he's like, how about you guys pick the ones that make you sound the most guilty, and then I'll still request the other group of the rest of them.
So, with what the Big Ten lawyers said, I mean, isn't there a little part of you that thinks that they're just trying to appease lawyers and parents at this point, the players, that we'll give you guys Thanksgiving. Let's just, let's stop with all the lawyers, though. Let's brush this under the rug. And with what the guy said, though, I mean, 99% of me wants Ohio State football back, but this 1%'s like, screw it. I just want to know what shadiness is going on in the Big Ten.
Yeah, what's the irreparable harm? And I'm sorry, to me, that's more than just knowing that they voted 11-3. We already know who the 3 definite vote. I mean,
we've known this for weeks now. Who wanted to play football?
I mean, I know there's been some rumors out there. It was 8-6 or blah blah blah. I mean, we all knew who the 3 no votes were.
Right.
Maybe there was a couple other no votes. Maybe there wasn't. But we knew Ohio State, Nebraska, and Iowa voted no.
We all know they wanted to play football.
And we knew Michigan voted yes, and Michigan State voted yes. So
and that didn't change.
Yeah.
So they didn't give us any new information, and they said their doctor said it wasn't safe. This, again, is not new information. This is not what's being requested. They're just giving us the same thing a third time.
Yeah.
And now they're going to go into hiding for another 10 days.
Yeah. I mean, I just see it actually came out. I don't have the quotes, the letter, because it came out today. But Nebraska's the lawyer for those players came out and said that basically the response wasn't good enough, and that they're looking for more information, and good for them. And honestly, I think really what the Big Ten now is trying to backpedal because lawyers are involved.
Yeah.
And I saw a couple other people mention on Twitter. I think donors are probably involved too. And I think, some donors have publicly at some of the universities have come out and said that, they're not going to give them money anymore. Well, I hear everybody say that it wasn't Kevin Warren make the decision. It's university presidents made the decision, and nothing the coaches or ADs or anything do can change that. Well, there is something that could change it, and that's the donors, because at the end of the day, whether people want to hear it or not, for several of these universities, those are actually who runs the universities.
And it's all speculative. I mean, we don't know who's saying we're not going to donate to your school anymore, but there's definitely some pressure behind the scenes from donors now. You can tell people are starting to lighten up with it. And, there's a lot more pressure to get this season going again, which is kind of crazy because we weren't going to revisit it a week ago, whatever it was now.
Yeah. I mean, we even said that we might throw some more shade at the Big Ten, but pretty much the decision was over, and I was ready to move past it. To me, it was like, what's next? Like, when we needed answers about what they were actually going to do for, athletes coming back, when they were actually going to play. What about the kids that are going to the draft? Like, we needed all those answers. They had a lot of planning to do, and
we still don't know, though.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. They're still not giving us anything. So even if we're not going to play in October, they still have not given any sort of footprint to what they wanted, or blueprint, to what they want to do as far as moving forward with this season, getting back on the field. You've had 20 days now. You have to have something, especially each day when people are getting angrier and angrier. You have to have some sort of answer to what people are asking you.
Yeah. And then it's kind of come out that, from the conference, kind of, or, speculative from different sources, is that, there's only two options really in our way right now. There's either we start at the end of November and you get 10 games, but again, you're not going to make the college football playoff because that's too late, or you start in January and that's an 8-game decision. That could be 8 games, but again, no college football playoff. And at the same time, you probably, all your NFL players are most likely gone at that point, which, at the end of November, you might lose a couple of the superstars, but I think a lot of the actual guys that could go to the league are probably going to come back and play.
Yeah, I could see that because they got to get some more tape out there. So I could see some of the guys that believe that they could have a really great season going, but still, I don't know. When you're not playing for it all, I don't know if, let's take, who's someone you think could have a breakout year? Josh Proctor?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take him. I mean, even if he had 6 interceptions, 7, whatever Malik Hooker did, do you think starting in November his season would ever be looked at the same way as Malik Hooker's breakout year? I just don't see how it could help them. But, I mean, they could. It could happen, and I think guys like that, though, that really believe that, I get that one solid year in me, I can go. I think you could see them play. I mean, obviously he doesn't have the choice to go to the NFL right now.
Yeah.
Or if he did, he'd be probably burning a lot of money by doing it, because he could be a 1st or 2nd round pick. We've seen it flashes. We've heard things. We've watched him in practice, so we know he's a star, or could be a star. But if he can't, he's not someone that has the luxury of saying, I'm not playing this year. But I don't know if he even comes back for Thanksgiving season, if it really would help him leave this year for that draft in April or May, whenever it is now.
Yeah, so, and to me, when the November thing gets brought up, the end of November, to me, that's even more ridiculous.
That's asinine.
Than starting in January at this point. It's like, if you can consider it a start in November, then how can you not then just play at the beginning of November or in October, mid-October? To me, that's crazy. And, especially if you can bring it up that many weeks, and there's all this different positive information out there that, we could play the season. I mean, just bring the kids back at this point and start practicing. And you know what? If there's a bunch of blow-ups and positive tests,
you tried
when the other leagues kick off in a couple weeks, well then you cancel that and just be like, all right, well, you know, at this point, at least you have more fire behind you. Been like, we brought our kids back. Look at all these positive tests, and these leagues still want to play. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, at least that would be more understandable, and I think there would be more people on the Big Ten side at that point than there are now. I mean, there are national media guys that are, and I'm not just talking about the Big Ten haters like Clay Travis. I mean, there are some legitimate.
Clay's been very vocal on the side of Big Ten.
Yeah. He's definitely been on the side of the parents and stuff. That's always not been the case when it comes to different things within the Big Ten. Right now, he loves the coaches of the Big Ten. A couple years ago, he couldn't stand them. So
yeah.
But I know the ESPN. Everybody likes to bash ESPN about Ohio State. They're Ohio State haters and stuff like that. But they pretty much, with the exception of a couple of them, have all come out pretty in favor that they should have a season. I mean, the Fox guys, of course, the Fox guys are all, for the most part. I mean, I think Reggie was the only guy that kind of came out and said he thought the decision was right. It just...
They think they should be able to play football. They want to call these games. I mean, ESPN, SEC is... they love the SEC there, and they're playing, so they don't want to make it look like the SEC is making a bad decision.
It would be a hard time. It would be very hard on ESPN to come out and say, well, the Big Ten's right, but then when...
But then the SEC is kind of like your bread and butter.
Yeah, so it'd be like, well, so you're not going to go after the SEC, or you are going to go after the SEC?
That's one of these other things with these people is they're talking out both sides of their mouth as though... agree completely with the Big Ten, but then the next sentence is they're talking about how excited they are for SEC football, or they completely look over the whole COVID aspect when it comes to the SEC, and they're actually talking about football again. If your opinion is that no one should be playing football, state it.
Yeah. And, kind of going back on to the first game, I didn't hear anything about Austin Peay, but Central Arkansas, they tested all their players, and they had 0 positive tests after that game, so... You can play football and not catch coronavirus. And I'm sure you can catch it by playing it too. But again...
But if you're in a coronavirus-free setting, you're not going to catch coronavirus.
Yeah.
If one person doesn't have it and the other person doesn't have it and they interact with each other, guess what? Yeah. They're both still not going to have it.
And I'm sure people can catch it prior to the game that weren't tested. I mean, if you come across with some person that you don't know, that an official might have it that you don't know, and maybe they catch it. And so, I mean, there is possibilities, but, everybody wants to use probabilities and possibilities in some ways, but, nobody...
You can't live your life the fear of the unknown.
But you don't want to put it on the other side. And that's all anything I've always said with, with the disease and stuff like that is that you can't ignore probabilities on one side and then use it as your defense on the other because, that just makes no sense to me. It never has. And that's not saying anything about the severity of it. It just...
No, not at all. But we should have Big Ten football.
Yeah, and I think if other leagues can play, we can play. We can at least see how it goes. And, I think right now would be the smart decision by the Big Ten to come out and say, okay, we're gonna play come mid-October. At least that gives them the leeway if the first couple weeks aren't great for the other leagues, they can come out. They might be able to clean it up some, but I don't think they have the right PR people to figure that one out.
No. So January, that's asinine. Thanksgiving, that's beyond asinine. That's
worse. I would think that. To me, January makes more sense, but
why would you want to start your season when the national title season is still going on at the end? So you get to be a part of the same year as the same time as the people that they're actually going to give the trophy to. So.
And makes no sense. From a strategic point of view, it kind of makes sense because you can get these kids out of there, the kids that are going to leave, without them having to play a winter sport. It gives you those kids a couple extra months before they have to play again. The kids that do play for 21, that stuff makes sense. But to me, if you can do it at the end of November, you can do it at the beginning of November, you can do it in mid-October. Unless you're going to do what we joked about last week and put Ohio State, Michigan on the Monday of the national championship game.
I'm still down for that.
And if that's going to be game 10 of the Big Ten season, then why not?
I mean, I was joking about that, but that's grown on me. Like, I'm all about that.
Yeah, I could. It would be interesting. I don't. Even if the Big Ten won, the Big Ten would never step on anybody's feathers like that. I mean, that would be out of their character. The SEC would do something like that. Alabama Auburn would be playing on the night of the national championship if the roles were reversed and the SEC were going to push back to the end of November.
Right.
We did have a couple more things I wanted to pull up. Jeff Snook. So, of course, all Ohio State fans know Snook. He seems like he's pretty well connected within the Ohio State program. He co-wrote, I know he's done a bunch of books, but he did co-wrote a book that we have, that him and Trussell wrote together, about different stories from different players from Ohio State past. But I thought this was an interesting thing. He said, from Ohio State Athletic Director Gene Smith, who texted me just a minute ago, and this was, I believe, was this last night or the night before?
This was last night.
Okay. From Ohio State Athletic Director Gene Smith, who texted me just a minute ago on rumors and various reports of an October start to the Big Ten season. Do not get trapped in all the rumors. We are looking at multiple options. What we have, when we have what we are going to do, we will announce it. Do not get caught up in the rumor world. Majority of our players have been working out at the WAC all along. So, that's kind of, I mean, it's kind of a note. Nothing said, but it's kind of interesting that Gene didn't just outright say, well, there's no way in hell we're going to play in October.
Well, and Gene has pretty much been like that this entire time was, you know, there's no truth to that, or we're not exploring other options anymore. And this one was kind of like the most vague he's been, that don't get caught up in the rumors, but our guys have been working out and we're exploring our options. So I don't know. I think there's some optimism there. I mean, I take that more optimistically than I take it negatively. I don't think that's no way October's happening. That's just like, Jeff, you know, when something happens, you're going to know it happens. But definitely seems to me less negative than what we've been seeing up until this point.
Yeah, and then kind of when you take on some information that came out today from the new Ohio State president, Christina Johnson. Today was her first day on the job, and so she talked to some of the local media, and she even threw out there that the path to fall, that she did explain her no vote, or her vote to not cancel. She said that she felt there's plenty of procedures in place. I mean, everybody said that there's been no procedures, but here, who's a new president who has not been around all these people feels differently, and
Right.
it's kind of interesting to me. But
And she knows what school she's president for also.
yeah, and you know, I'm sure she took a lot of, unlike some of the presidents, I think she probably had a meeting with Gene, at least by phone, before the decision, before she gave her vote. And you know, I mean, say what you want, and I think that's smart, because I mean, you could say, oh, athletics run your school, football runs your school, but hey, she's not been on the job at all, and I kind of feel bad for her. She's been thrown into something that she wasn't expecting to begin her tenure at Ohio State, so she at least made the decision that she probably talked to the athletic people first.
Yeah, and you know what? First day on the job, or first decision she has to make for the school, good for her.
Yeah.
To be, you know, brave enough to not go. I mean, I could see 11 people say we want to cancel a season. You're one of those new faces in the room. I could see how that would be easy. The easy way out would be, yeah, I agree with them. So good for her for being brave and standing up and trying to keep a season going.
And let's face it, for those other 11 presidents, I mean, we've talked about Ohio State not throwing their weight around. They feel a lot better if Ohio State votes with them.
Right.
I mean, you can say what you want, and I know some people have argued with us when we've pointed out that Ohio State's pretty much the money of this conference. Well, you know, this isn't your dad's and grandfather's Big Ten anymore. I mean, the sport of college football has been pretty much a moneymaker since early 2000s, and that's Ohio State for the Big Ten, and they're the money in this conference.
And I know Ohio State's not the only team in the Big Ten that makes money. I mean, we know that. As much as we joke about it, we know there's other fan bases that make a lot of money for their schools. But how can you honestly argue with someone that says Ohio State carries this conference?
No, I mean it's.
And
If Ohio State was not in this conference,
that's someone's pride getting in the way of truth right there to argue with someone that says Ohio State does not carry this conference.
Even with Michigan and Penn State, if Ohio State left this conference, the money that this conference makes, they would not be making on the next contracts.
Right, that goes with Ohio State, and it's a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Fox would maybe still carry the Big Ten, but
They wouldn't offer as much.
interest goes way down, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll carry them, but you're not getting near the contract you did this time.
Yeah. So she did mention today that she felt that there is a path forward to fall football, and then she did throw in there at the end, which probably needed to be said that hey, fall does go till December 21st. So I mean, she did want to throw that out there, but which is probably the smart thing to say. You don't want everybody's like, see, the president said we're gonna play.
Yeah, no, I mean, you gotta cover your bases, so there's nothing wrong with that. Still good on her for being brave.
And just when we thought, just as of last night with the Snook stuff, that hey, we have a lot to talk about, for this coming episode, and then today happens, which has just been.
Who knows what the hell happened today?
Yeah. Obviously, we're not. This is a sports-based podcast. We want to build a community around our love for Ohio State and sports, and then other passions to go with sports. So I'm not going to go into too much down the political foothold, but the President of the United States this morning, Donald Trump, did tweet out that he had a productive. I mean, I'm not going to read the quote verbatim. I mean, I'm not going to pull it up, but he had a productive phone call with Kevin Warren, and
they're on the 1 yard line.
They're on the 1 yard line, and
time to punch it in.
And then a lot of Ohio State fans started joking about who would you use to punch in for the 1 yard line, which I want to know. Who's your 1 yard go to right now?
Not Tate Martell.
Absolutely not.
No, remember, he was the goal line, he was Dwayne Haskins' goal line quarterback. Yeah. It never worked. JT. I'd go JT on the 1 yard line.
JT is definitely, probably quarterback-wise would be the one I would go to.
You're giving it to a back?
I'm going old school, man. I'm giving it to Eddie. I'm letting Eddie, with that Adonis of a body of his, lower his helmet.
I like that. Eddie's definitely strong enough to get it.
I mean, Eddie still looks like he could put it in from the 1 yard line.
But Zeke was strong, and Zeke was very athletic also. He could go over the top.
Yeah, and I know, and of course Beanie's on that thought process too. And I know he didn't put it in. It wasn't a 1 yard line run, but I keep on thinking also back to the 0-2 national championship. Those two short yardage touchdowns. I mean, one was like a 20-yarder, and I mean they were both red zone touchdowns that Claret put both of them into the end zone. Being that was when Maurice wanted to put his head down and use his power. It sucks. You think he was only around for a year.
No, he was great too. We'll have to go best of Ohio State, U versus B.
Yeah, those will be some of our fun fall episodes.
We're
not
best
talking about
drafts.
So that was tweeted out by the president this morning that he's talked to and then the conference kind of came out and says, we talked to the president, which I mean, you're not gonna. I don't care how you vote, who you vote for. If the president's gonna call, guess what? You're taking that. If you're in a position of like respect and power and stuff like that, you're still taking that phone call. I mean,
right.
I don't care who the president is. If you're an R and the president's a D, or vice versa, that you are taking that phone call. And so the Big Ten kind of comes out. Yeah, we talked, and but there's a lot of discussion still going on and all this stuff. And then the Dan Patrick Show has a rumor that the Big Ten is looking for an October 10th start if procedures can be put in place.
Oh, I was pumping my fist when I read that one.
Yeah. And then somebody came out and said, no, that wasn't true. We're looking at all options.
Yeah, it's like every single person, one has one news and the other has. I don't know who's lying about their sources or their news, but they need to cut it out. Like, if you know, be honest about it, because everyone has a different story, and it's becoming exhausting to follow this.
There's all these.
I mean, I love it. Don't get me wrong, but it's getting exhausting.
It's just interesting to me. I've heard a couple things out of ESPN. I've heard the Dan Patrick Show. We've heard obviously different things from local media. Jeff Snook has been all over different things. A couple crazy people that somehow are now popular as hell.
All right, we're not giving.
I'm not going to say
We're not giving time to any of them.
that they're throwing out rumors, and I see people
They
share.
got more followers than we do. They don't need.
I'm not talking about that.
Free pub.
I just can't believe with how many people are sharing this stuff. That is kind of ridiculous. So we have all that, and then we have one news media outlet, not mentioning name Athletic, who seems like that none of their people want to work this year.
I hope if they have kids, I hope they let them believe they're Santa like for more than a day. I mean, those people are awful. Awful's a strong word, but I don't understand why they're so hell-bent on, trying to say, no, there's not going to be a season. We're right, you're wrong.
Yeah.
It's obviously up in the air.
I know who the Big Ten, who's the source to their sources. The Big Ten presidents seem to be those sources.
Yeah.
And, Jeff Snook came out and said Gene texted him straight up. So,
right.
And then another media outlet then later said, that they can confirm that an October option is, I believe it was Austin Ward from Letterman Row came out and said that they, an October option is on the table with all other options. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I probably missed something. It's just like I cannot believe what today brought us.
No, it's been a weird day. It's been a hell of a day. I mean, you're getting, Trump says that we're going to have a season. Looks like we're going to have a season. People from Athletic saying that they laughed at Trump stating they're going to have a season and that the Big Ten presidents are nowhere near on board with that. Dan Patrick says they're going to have a season. It's just been all over the damn place. So hopefully we find out something soon.
Well, that's the point. At this point, just give us
someone, and that's the thing. Kevin Warren, you got to see the criticism. You got to put up. And I'm sure he is just ticking off all these presidents and chancellors because they wanted to hide behind him with their decisions, and he won't say anything, and it's just making more and more people grow angry and realize that, a good chunk of this is on them. I mean, a huge chunk is on him, and how this has been handled since is definitely on him, but he's probably driving them insane that he's not coming out saying anything.
Well, he needs to come out. He needs to say something, but they need to come out and say something. And now it's time.
They're all hiding. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I know Purdue's president made some sort of comment today, but even his comment was wishy-washy. Well, we could be playing later this year or in the spring semester. Well, later this year could be October 10th, and the spring semester could be January. What does that even mean? Can't you give a direct answer?
You've had 20 days. You've pretty much had backlash since day one. It's time to say something.
And how the hell is the Northwestern president in charge of these presidents?
I don't.
I'm sure they do it on some sort of rotating basis, but that should not. This is not the universities making academic decisions. This is for athletics, and I'm sorry, maybe I'm going to cut on some sports. I don't know what Northwestern's other sports look like. They might be good in some of them, but. Come on, they should not be in charge of a conference that the bulk of its money comes from football. The overwhelming, they should never be the president.
No.
Maybe them and Rutgers and Maryland. The rest of the conference, I will let them be president at some point or another.
Yeah, I'd be down with that.
I'm sorry, that's just.
You're just being mean to the Wildcats.
Oh, it's Northwestern. They should be in the MAC. MAC teams can beat them.
Yeah, would they even be first place at the MAC?
No.
Some years, right? They'd win it some years.
No, at the last couple of years. Pat Fitzgerald. Of course, Pat Fitzgerald. I think that would probably be the one thing that would make him leave Northwestern.
Yeah.
That man, I have said, to be fair to the Northwestern Wildcats, everybody says, well, Fitzgerald's going to leave. If I was Pat Fitzgerald, with how good, I don't think a lot of people realize just how good of jobs college football jobs are anymore. I mean, the dude's making probably $3 or $4 million a year, and
Maybe even more than that.
yeah, probably now. And you ain't getting fired from Northwestern. So
no, he's not going anywhere. So it's a cushy job. I mean, that's good for him. It's his alma mater. I'm sure that's what keeps him there. Because, I mean, you've seen Pat Fitzgerald on the sidelines. You can tell that dude's competitive.
Yeah, I think Pat Fitzgerald would be in them.
If it wasn't Northwestern and it went somewhere that they're like, well, we sucked before you, so we're okay. You can lose 4 games a year and we're fine. I think eventually he would take the better job. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't ever see him leaving Northwestern. Just that's his alma mater. He loves being there.
I like Pat Fitzgerald. I like what he's done to their football program.
He's a good coach.
I don't understand why their president is in charge of the other Big Ten presidents and leading this discussion.
Well, I'm sure they're an academic, Mike. I'm sure they're smarter than everyone else.
All right. So just kind of going off this discussion, anything else you want to bring up?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much. I just want to know what's going on. So this is going to keep developing. Maybe it's going to just become crazier and crazier as we keep going on, and we're just going to keep not getting answers. They have the Big Ten. When I say Big Ten president's commissioner, they need to have a plan in place, and they need to have one by the end of this week. I mean, it's starting to get ridiculous that they can't answer people.
Literally, this might be a 10% chance. But because of just how crazy this has all been, I really would not be surprised if I wake up one morning and see on my phone that the Big Ten has reversed the decision and they're going to play in October. Yeah. Just like I could see that they've decided that football is not being played till 2021. So
I could see that too, that they say, we're just not playing until next year. I actually did have something else. Going back to the Nebraska lawsuit, are you a little surprised by Tuesday of the following week we have not heard of any more lawsuits?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. I think that,
Do you think coaches are telling their players, hey, let's keep it cool for a little bit till we see how this one starts playing out before we do anything?
Hey, at the end of the day, I could see that. I could see players' attorneys kind of saying the same thing. Let's see what this one
what they're willing to budge on, then we'll file.
If the judge comes out and says, "Hey, no, you guys have to release all these documents," then what's the point?
Right.
They can still get the documents. So, and even if they are sealed, those are going to get leaked. This is 2020.
To me, I'm a little shocked that we haven't seen more. I know, like Randy Wade said that parents aren't going to get involved like that, but I was a little shocked that we haven't seen a little bit more. But I'm thinking maybe it was coaches or legal advice. It's like, well, this one's already out there. Let's see, what they're willing to budge on with the Nebraska one, and then we'll go from there. If they're not willing to say anything, then we'll file one.
A lot of these universities are going to have to start answering the Tom R's request. So, that's also out there.
Do you feel more legal pressure would help expedite an answer?
It would be interesting. I think it could. I think the Big Ten felt like they could come out and say that it was 11-3, and so we were completely in our right.
But what, how did they think that even mattered? No one asked, I know they asked who voted which way, and they came out with that, but there were so many more questions that were asked to go along with it.
That wasn't all that was asked. Really, nobody gave a crap. It could have been 14-0, and I think this lawsuit probably would have still come to place.
And the vague answer, the medical experts, the advice we got from medical experts, you're saying 11 of your medical experts had different advice than 3 of them? It doesn't make sense. This is what you've been saying all along. Tell us what happened.
And your medical advice is different than the medical advice from 3 of the other 5 conferences and some other conferences that are still going to play.
And I'm sure Ohio State's doctors, I know they're not the prestigious Northwestern or Michigan, but I put up Ohio State's medical program and facilities against anybody.
Ohio State's medical school was a very good medical school, so I would too. And they've come out and said that it's safe to at least start.
So, we're going to be talking about this still next time. So hopefully we have a season soon.
Yeah. Of course, we're almost getting ready to start actually talking about.
Hey, it'll be
games.
November before you know it, anyways. Oh.
All right. So nothing more on Big Ten stuff right now.
No, we're good for now.
I think I'm looking forward to hopefully in the next couple of weeks we do get some of these other conferences will start kicking off here. I mean, it won't be this week. This is supposed to be Labor Day weekend is usually college football weekend, so we have to wait at least one more week. But
I mean, Navy's playing this weekend, right?
I'll watch that game, I guess. So
who are they playing? BYU?
yeah.
I'll look it up.
All right, so I think Super League time.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
Sorry.
Super League. This is the one segment I think we've been having a lot of fun with. So we released last episode was part 2 of the release. We did our first 2 divisions. Again, the divisions are broken down into 6 teams. There'll be 8 divisions. So we're going. We were in the Midwest, the Great Lakes states last week. We went over Ohio State's division, and then we went over Notre Dame's division. That's who I call the headliners for the 2 divisions. So we're going to start out west now. Now I try to, like I said previously, it was a lot easier to geographically link schools together. I mean, the Notre Dame one that's kind of spread out a little bit, but not as bad as what the West is. I mean,
nothing's close in the West.
That's the nature of the West. I've never been out west, but one of these days I'll go.
You're pretty good with geography of the United States, though.
Yeah. So let's get started. So the first one division we'll call Division C. This is the Oregon Ducks, the Washington Huskies, Washington State. There's the Cougars, right?
Yes, they are.
The Cougars, the Stanford Cardinal, Colorado Buffalo, and the Boise State Broncos. First thoughts?
First thoughts are Boise State's probably not going to have the success that they have. I believe anybody, though, that's been to multiple, New Year's Six, BCS games, whatever you want to break it down and call it, over the last 20 years, I think they belong in this league, though. So I'm all for Boise being in there. I think it'd be awesome watching Oregon play on the blue turf. Is that where they played when Blunt punched that guy in the head?
Yeah.
So they're familiar with there. They had an assault charge on that field before. So I'm cool with Boise being in there. Colorado, they're probably another one that's a little bit weaker, but I don't know out there who else you would have. So I'm good with that decision.
This one is actually was probably the hardest out of all of the divisions of me picking. I mean, everyone.
Do you really want a Washington State without the Pirate there, though?
Yeah, that was.
This is post-Pirate.
But see, the problem is with that is, I'll get into that and so that they go on Boise State. They even when Peterson was there, they started getting 4-star recruits, and the new coach has done the same thing. I think they can recruit. There's some thought process of what Idaho is. Everything I heard, the Boise area is beautiful. Idaho is beautiful. They can get a lot of people there. They can get kids that go to that school. I think being in an upper division, you would be surprised, especially because they're going to come in and be like on their last place automatically. I would not say they're last place. I think they could hold up in this division.
I mean, they've beaten good teams before.
Yeah.
So that might have been a little presumptuous of me to say that they would be last place. Because
going on the
Colorado probably would be.
So my last team, the one that ended up being Cal. Cal has just not done enough for me lately for me to put them in there.
I agree. Cal hasn't done enough, and if I had to choose, Cal and Stanford's a big rivalry, but I don't know.
And that's why I almost put them in there.
I prefer Washington State. I mean, I think Buffalo, or the Buffaloes, Colorado and Boise State, I think they belong.
Yeah.
So if I were to say any team doesn't belong to be in there, I would say probably Washington State, but I'm more intrigued with the Apple Cup than I am with the Cal Stanford.
Yeah. Probably, I mean, Washington State and Colorado were the teams that just made it, and Cal was one that just made it out. Oregon State, I know the Civil War's gone under this method, but Oregon State has not done anything since the early
Oregon State doesn't deserve to be in this conversation.
They're out of it.
If they want to do like a spring scrimmage against each other, I'm all about
that. Yeah, and I think Oregon and Washington State and Oregon and Stanford could all be good geographical kind of rivalries with each other.
So keep the Pac-12 mostly intact, the North there.
Yeah, so that's kind of my thought process on that. Again, there's just not, to me, there was not a lot of other number 7, 8 for me to go to. Honestly, the next school I kind of thought about was Colorado State, and that's kind of where I was at on that one. I mean, I just don't like that part of the country, and that I think this would be a good division. Don't get me wrong.
West hater.
Don't get me wrong. And still, remember, you got to play your entire division, and you might have to play this whole division if this is who you match up with. That's not for like Ohio State playing these 6 schools on top of playing your 5, and then playing whoever that 12th team is going to be. That's not a picnic schedule.
No, especially when you got to factor in which games are away that you're traveling that far multiple times in a year probably.
Yeah.
So no, it's definitely not a picnic. I don't think any division is just going to be a walkthrough for someone else.
Yeah.
So I'm good with this. I'm glad Boise's getting the love. Like I said, anyone that's been as successful as they've been the last 20 years, they deserve to
when
be
you
in
kind of
this
look at
conversation.
Boise, I think Boise makes more. At first, I thought, I don't know if I should put them in here, but to me, Boise makes more sense than both Washington State and Colorado.
Yeah, no, I could agree with that.
So that's that division. The next division we'll call Division D right now. Again, we have not named any of these divisions. Just went through them. This again is more of the southern part of the West Coast. This one was a little easier, just because I have 3 geographical regions that have 2 programs in each region that made sense to me.
Sure.
And the headliner is USC. UCLA is included. Arizona and Arizona State are both in it. And then we have Utah and BYU. First thoughts?
I'm good with that. I'm good with all that. BYU, they have a good team. They usually put out a good product on the field. So I'm very, very okay with that. Utah's the same way. I mean, Utah's, I think, they're a step above BYU as far as product on the field. So I'm definitely good with that. Both Arizona schools, yes. And then the 2 LA schools, yes. So, yeah, I'm absolutely on board with that one.
Yeah, and I'm really intrigued about having Utah BYU be the final game of the year. I think that could get, I mean, that would be a fun religious battle between the Mormon school that BYU is and, Utah, Salt Lake City. I mean, it might be a public school, but still, it's pretty much,
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't even know who I would even suggest to be in there, because New Mexico, they're not good enough.
Yeah, really, this is one
UNLV's not good enough.
This is one where I really couldn't put anybody in. The Vegas schools were kind of thought of, UNLV, maybe Nevada. I was kind of threw out there.
Fresno will have a good year every now and then.
Fresno, that was an interesting one. I did consider them too.
But I don't know who you would put them in over.
No, and the only other one I really thought maybe would be San Diego State. They've had some decent years over the years, and they've actually given some teams some good games. So
yeah,
and they're in an area of the country that if they actually played in a big conference, that they actually might be able to recruit to play, in a division like that.
So that might be my only argument for a school like that over BYU, but that would really be the only argument. So I like 99% prefer BYU in over San Diego State.
BYU
or Fresno. Those would be like my 2 maybes, would be like Fresno or San Diego State. But like I said, 99% I like BYU in there.
And BYU, to me, is they have the history behind them, and they still win games. So
and that's who Navy's playing on Monday.
Okay, so that'll be a good game.
Something to watch.
one of BYU's best players just got injured for the rest of the season. I saw that today. So.
Well, you saw Jamar Chase from LSU. He opted out, right?
Oh, did he? I did not see that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say good for him or I expected it to happen, but you don't have Joe Burrow and Joe Brady there anymore. I don't think he really could hurt his case for the NFL, but why get hurt?
Yeah.
Without, why risk anything without being able to put up the same production you did the year before? I don't think he can really go down in the draft, and I don't think he can really go up. He's that good of a receiver, so I don't have really any issue with it in the crazy year that we're going through right now. Might as well be safe. Might as well go get your millions of dollars.
Yeah. So that's so far our first four divisions of this league. I think it's. I really would love to see this college football for these bigger schools to really get into something like this because I think if we had one voice at the top, one commissioner with one athletic board that was in charge of them, that it makes the most sense. I mean, these are where your playoff teams are going to be coming from anyway. I mean, so it might as well just separate themselves, and we'll show in part 6 how we're going to actually divide the playoffs up. But, like I said, you're playing your 5 schools in your division, then you have to play another 6 teams from another division. Like, again, and I always go back to Ohio State because, that's what we're talking about here. But, Ohio State, these 2 divisions tonight, that's no picnic for them. They have to go. You're going to be going out.
Think about playing Utah and Southern Cal in the same season.
Yeah.
And UCLA, they turn around, they'll have their bad years and then they'll have a couple good years. So they're going to have a competitive team again.
Yeah. And the one thing, is Chip still there? I think he is, right?
He didn't get fired. I think he's still there.
The one thing I cannot believe about that is that, Clay has been so, to me, USC is not where USC should be. I don't care what anybody says. They might love Clay to death, but how the hell is...
he's still there, yeah.
How the hell is Chip not put UCLA at least into a position yet to be more competitive? Because, USC is not where USC should be.
Yeah, I don't know Clay, I guess he kind of hangs on to that job every year. Is it just, does the job itself not have the intrigue anymore that it used to? Because they've had to put feelers out there, and no one's biting on it.
I don't think so. I think it still has those, it's just one of those jobs. To me, there is, and there's an argument for a lot of different jobs. To me, there's 5 top jobs in the country that people want. And those are Alabama, Ohio State, Texas, Notre Dame, and USC. Those are the blue bloods of the blue bloods, in my opinion, when it comes to fan bases, to when it comes to where they are located, to what the money that gets spent on them.
Well, I'm not sure. It might have been Joel Klatt. I'm not sure who it was, but I do remember either last year or the year before listening to something about the 3 jobs in America that you absolutely, you don't need to leave your backyard to be able to recruit a national contender. And it's Texas, Miami, and South Carolina. Or sorry, Southern Cal, not South Carolina. I'm sure they got plenty of good kids, but they're going to Clemson now. So you have those 3 schools, and I just, Clay, he's not getting the top kids in California. So I don't understand it. Maybe they're waiting for a certain broadcaster at Fox to get bored with that job.
Yeah, maybe. To me, if Ryan Day or Urban Meyer were at Ohio State in the early 2000s, they wouldn't be able to go into Petey's backyard and get some of the kids that they've taken out of there. Wyatt Davis would never have come to Columbus if Pete Carroll is still the head coach at USC.
Marcus Ball would have never probably came to Columbus.
Or Lane or Sark. Those guys, they at least kept the talent home. And, Clay, I don't know.
Yeah, Olave, quarterback this class.
Oh, yeah. I can't think of his name right now. That's shame on us.
CJ, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're CJ.
Yeah. No, yeah, one of the freshman kids, and
Is it McLeod?
it's something like that. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I feel awful. Let's see.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's where I'm at with this. Just I don't know how Clay's keeping that job. It's like when you go from PD to Lane to Sark, it's just the job used to mean something, and I don't think Clay's doing enough to keep it. But I don't know. I don't know what feelers they've put out there over the last couple of years, why they're not keeping anyone. I mean, they look pretty dumb for letting Coach O go down to LSU, that's for sure, because that guy's been a hell of a coach for LSU. So I don't know what he'll be like without.
And it's CJ Stroud. Yeah.
Sorry, man. But yeah, so hopefully Coach O, without Joe Burrow and Joe Brady, can still keep it up down there, because he's kind of like my sentimental favorite. I love that guy.
Welcome to Death Valley, where dreams come to die.
Go Tigers. Yeah, I love that guy.
Yeah, he's definitely. I mean, that's without a year of college football. It's probably sad to say. It's just because I like Coach O. It's probably LSU the team I have to win this year.
Hey, it could happen. Ohio State we could be playing football. Every day seems to get a little bit more positive until it's done. There's still something to fight for.
All this stuff that's coming out now, there is no way that this is all BS. And I'm sorry. Everybody likes to leak stuff to the media, and we joke around that the Athletic is the Big Ten presidents. That's who's leaking to them. Well, these other guys on the other side, they're not just making up stuff. I mean, they are getting calls from somebody, and I know some people want to throw shade that the coaches are using their sources to get their agenda across. Well,
their agenda, to do their job.
Yeah, to actually
to coach a sport, what they're paid to do. That's their agenda.
Yeah, do what they were hired to do. But
unbelievable.
So, but I think that's unless you have anything else you want to throw out there.
I'm just like last week. Randy Wade, keep fighting that good fight. Everybody follow that man on Twitter. Just keep getting out there. Keep fighting for Ohio State to have a season. We want to have a fall season. November means nothing. January means nothing. Those seasons, ultimately, they're not going to get Ohio State back to the promised land. So we want to play in October. Keep fighting for it. If we can't get it, we can't get it. But, at least we can still try to make sure the Big Ten hears our voices.
And like I've always said, I've said it on this show and in other places online, as it makes no sense to me why we couldn't just have the schools that wanted to play, even if that means you have to play a school 2 or 3 times in the same year. It is what it is, and this is a weird year to begin with.
Exactly. Why not? It's a weird year, exactly. Why don't you just chalk it up to 2020 being the craziest year ever? And if 4 schools want to play, let them round robin as many times as they want to.
Like, you don't even have to hand out a Big Ten championship. Be like, okay, you guys are independent for this year.
Right.
It's not a championship year.
And if the playoff committee selects you to be in the playoffs, so be it.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Let them play. If only 4 teams want to play, let them just do a round robin until they've each played 10 games. Who cares?
Yeah. All right, we're going to get ready to wrap up this episode 3. We're having a blast right now. We want to continue to grow the community, so please, if you're watching YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification thing, select all notifications. That way, anytime a show drops, you will get a notification on it. I threw up a quick little 10-minute type thing last week. We will variously, besides our shows, every now and then, we're going to do that stuff too. We'll always just, if we have something to say, we're going to throw something up there, because it makes more sense than just waiting till we do it, to doing our episodes, which we're planning on doing, at least try to do a couple times a week. But, whenever we can, we're going to throw up different oddball things. We will have no problem doing that.
Yeah, we want to keep everybody informed.
So like this video and comment on the video. We want to start seeing comments, because we want to start interacting with some of the people out there. Like we said, this is supposed to be a community. It's a community around Ohio State, and then college football, college athletics, and sports in general. We talked about on our first episode some of the other shows we're planning on doing. We're working out the last couple details, at least when we're going to start our first one of those, which should be coming pretty shortly, I would think. And if you're out and about, you can't watch YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio. Those are 4 big ones right now that we're on. Yeah, you can always find us where we host at anchor.fm/buckeye-bar.talk. Come listen to us. You're at work, you're allowed having your headphones in, listen to us there. If you're, driving, put it on your car radio and listen through there. Give us comments whenever. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We'll have and down in the show notes, we will have our links available. Come join our community. Like our pages, follow us. We're always trying to throw up interesting things, and we want to interact with you guys.
All right.
All right. Everybody have a good night. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for coming out to the Buckeye Bar. I'm John. That's Mike. OH.
I-O. Well, thank you for watching here, the Buckeye Bar Guys, here on the Buckeye Bar Talk Network. Please subscribe to the network, and when you get the little notification bell, just hit that. Hit all notifications. That way you will get alerted when all the new episodes come up. Comment, like the show, and we hope you join our community. Come join our bar.
Like, comment, share. I'm John. That's Mike. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you.